All right, hello everyone. Welcome to this pre-recorded unofficial Golden Award statue discussion because we can't say the name of it because copyright. So I am Liz, the adult programming coordinator at the Derry Public Library and one of the resident movie buffs, and joining me is Mark. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mark, and one of my favorite Sesame Street characters is Oscar the Grouch. Totally has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I said, also, you know what? Larry David attacking Elmo was funny. I don't care what Will Wheaton says. He needs to go talk to someone not on the internet. So I just want to say the date as this is pre-recorded. It is currently March 2nd, 2024. The Golden Statue Awards will wait, we can just
You can say
The
Academy, can't
Golden
you?
Man.
the Golden Man.
There you go.
Oh, we just can't use it in advertising.
Right, there you go.
Oscars are going to be held on May 10th. It's been an interesting awards season. We had a little bit of a shakeup at the SAG Awards. It does. We'll get to this later, but Mark, it looks like it's Oppie's year. There's nothing beating up.
There's two really close races that'll be fun, and the other ones are it should go to this person, it's going to go to this person, it went to this person. That's how I feel about it.
All right. So before, as you can see, we're going to do a rundown of the nominees. But first, Todd, our neutral host, even though he's currently upstairs,
Neutral.
Semi-neutral.
has a couple of questions for Mark and I.
Well, let's start. Since we discussed the question of should be here, let's start with the obvious. I know we're going to be discussing category by category snubs, but there is one in the discourse that has been a big topic right now. I'm of course referring to the Barbie backlash regarding Margot Robbie being left out of Best Actress and Greta Gerwig of Best Director. Do you guys think the reaction to this is overblown, or do you think this is reasonable? Do you think the Academy kind of dropped the ball with this one?
I think it's overblown in the way that it's being interpreted by some people. As someone who's been watching the Oscars for since I was since '98, I've been telling people, and I'm like, yes, sexism in the industry and sexism at the Oscars exists. But this in particular, I don't think is a sexism problem. I think this is more the Oscars are very weird about comedies and which comedies they do like to award, because people bring up, well, we have Poor Things and American Fiction as comedies. And I'm like, okay, Poor Things I'll give you, but Poor Things also has other things that the Academy likes, like, period costumes. And American Fiction, which I enjoyed, I don't know if I'd call that a comedy. It is a drama slash, social commentary satire with comedic elements. Overt comedies do not really get awarded at the Oscars, and they haven't for a while, which is strange because, we have had comedic performances win in the past. Kevin Kline, Fish Called Wanda, has not only been nominated, but won. Judy Holliday, Born Yesterday, or two I can think of off the top of my head. But I feel like the last comedic performance or more overt comedic performance that won, I guess Jamie Lee Curtis in Everything Everywhere All at Once. But before that, I think the best argument could be made is Alan Arkin in Little Miss Sunshine. But yeah, we'll get to when we get to Best Actress. My issue isn't that Margot Robbie's not there. It's who's there in her place. I think if there were a few other actresses there, I wouldn't be as like, oh, come on. And Greta Gerwig's one where I'm kind of like, what does she have to do? She directed a good indie film. She directed a great period piece. I actually still think Little Women is her strongest film. And she directed a big box studio musical. But I also look at all 5 directors nominated, and I can't see any reason why any of them can't be there. So I'm like, it stinks. She got edged out. It's okay. I think Margot Robbie's the one I'm looking at is a little more like, oh, come on. But that's not the biggest snub, in my opinion. We'll get to that. So, Mark, I'll let you go.
Well, I would say that, can you imagine in the 80s telling someone that a movie like Barbie would get a Best Picture nomination? I mean, that's the surprise. The surprise isn't that it's not up for director. And there can't be any claims of sexism because Justine Triet's nominated for Best Director. And if Greta Gerwig was nominated, Justine probably wouldn't be, because Triet and Glazer are there instead of Gerwig and Payne for another comedy drama.
Yeah.
So it's just, they had to pick 5. Whenever someone says something snubbed, I'm fine with their opinion as long as they have the gall to tell me who is there that shouldn't be. Last year was easy because Anna D. Armas was nominated for Blonde, and
Yeah.
everybody was gagging. So it was like, oh, so a lot of people got pushed over for that. Okay, well, it's not easy this year. Every category had 7 candidates, 5 got nominated. It's
Yep.
like, get past it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like, I don't know. It's not like Spielberg not getting nominated for Jaws. Like that to me is a much bigger.
Yeah.
Really, we're going to talk about this 50 years from now. So
Or I mean, or as we talked about before, like the weird, like I think for me, I would just like to see this as an opportunity to talk about the genre problem that the Academy has. They're still really weird about comedy. I mean, we know they're weird about horror. We'll get to my opinions on them in
mm,
animation.
yeah.
So we back on that particular question?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
So in that case, we're going to the next question, which touches on another perennial topic. So earlier this year, the Academy announced they're going to be offering another other Little Golden Man category coming up in another, I believe it's 2 years for best casting.
Are they?
Yeah, it was
I did
announced
not
on
hear this.
Variety posted it.
How do you determine this? This is so stupid. I'm
I
sorry. I'll
mean,
start off here. This is ridiculously stupid.
well, I mean, it
I
was
give
also
casting to the casting agent, even though the director knew who he wanted in the role, and the producer had made a deal with this guy to be in this role.
I'm wondering if that's why they're taking 2 years to try and iron out how they want to do
Oh
this.
my god! I mean, you could make that argument for a couple of the other categories, but I mean, just because the director's involved in everything. But casting, unless you're saying forget the main people on the poster, who you're giving this award to everybody that's under the line, because that's really where the casting agent
Mhm.
has to excel. If
Well,
that's
but
how you're doing it, then maybe I can see it.
yeah, but I mean, keep in mind there are other awards like the Emmys do this for casting directors. But I mean, I think the argument is until
Television's a
very
different animal.
yeah, until very recently, television was not the star-studded landscape that it is now.
No, and directors and producers couldn't cast every role in a Law and Order every week. I mean,
Yeah.
that casting agents are really doing their job there.
Oh yeah.
Movies, they could totally be doing their job. They could be just sitting back and being like, "Thanks, pick them all."
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good idea, because I think we've talked about this before. Filmmaking is a collaborative process. There's a lot of people who do a lot of little jobs, and they all deserve to be honored. I would have just liked to see a couple of other categories before this. There was talk I heard in that article about trying to find a way to honor stunt work, and I think they
Too
are
dangerous.
but I think they're leaning towards stunt choreographer,
It's
or
just
supervisor, like the people who are there to make sure it's done safely. And I'm like,
like
maybe,
even Jackie Chan, who's got a special achievement award, has said if you put a stunt award out, people are going to die
well,
because they're
but
going to try the most to win it. And you know what I mean? That's the reason they've never done it. It's
yeah,
the safety aspect.
but if they did something like choreography, where it is not for the individual stunt person, but the person overseeing
Yeah.
the stunts,
They
I
used to have
think
dance
that
choreography as a category back when they
yeah,
were more musicals. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I think choreography is good. One of the things I'd like to see, because they keep ignoring this stuff every year, even though we have like best international feature category, I'm like, can we please just have best performance in a foreign language feature?
oh
Because
yeah.
Song Kang Ho should have won something for Parasite, and I'm still mad about it.
Mm. The other thing about the casting award, it's going to end up being like production design and costume design, where instead of best, it's most, and that's what
Yeah,
wins. Most casting. Like this year, probably be Oppenheimer because of the number of roles. You know
mhm,
what I mean? As opposed to Holdovers has 3 incredibly strong performances, but
yeah,
there's only 3 compared to Oppenheimer's
yeah.
25. You know,
Well, like people have said that about sound as well. They're like, sound isn't really best; it's most. And
that's why
we
this year's going to
all
be interesting.
we all remember how I felt last year about Nope not even being on the short list.
Right?
What happened there?
Oh,
That
Yeah.
I've got my champion for sound this year, but I realize you guys are the main discuss.
I
We'll
think
get
we all
there.
might. I'm guessing we're all on the same on somewhat of the same
My
page.
my top 2, one of them is going to win. It's either most or most important. Those are my top 2. So
Alrighty, Todd. Next question.
So this is going to be one of the interesting ones because we're going to be looking a little further in the future on this. We're coming to 2024. We are finally seeing the result of last year's writing and acting strikes. We're seeing it's a drier year for cinema. You people no doubt notice this because when you go to the movies now, you see the same 4 or 5 previews over and over and over again because there is so little on the table. Which raises the question: how
Love
do we
Lies
see
Bleeding's coming out.
how do we see this playing out at the Oscars next year? Is this going to be the studios are going to be trying to put a lot behind one of their movies, or is this going to be a year where some of the smaller studios can get their foot in the door because there's going to be less noise to have to cut through?
I think the latter. In 2004, $1 Million Baby hadn't even started shooting, I don't think, at the time of the Oscars. And then all
Oh.
of a sudden it came out in December. So there are certain directors who can make a movie in 2 months, like Clint Eastwood. Um, I think we're going to see a year like 1996, where you might have maybe Wicked will surprise me and be a contender. Dune 2, even though it's a sequel, might be a contender, and the two of them might be in the technical awards. But I think we're going to see a lot of movies like Past Lives and Anatomy of a Fall in November and December, and that'll be what makes up the Oscars this year.
Having seen it last night, I feel like Dune Part 2 is probably going to be like the technical juggernaut for
Yeah,
next year.
yeah.
I I'm of two see, for me, I kind of think I'm like, I think Dune Part 2 just became the Oscar. I haven't seen it yet. I was at Bianca Del Rio last night. Had a great time, by the way. Um, I think Dune Part 2, it might be like the Return of the King this year. But I do also think there's so many other, it can't all just be Dune for all categories. There's got to be other movies. So while Dune might be the juggernaut, I feel like we might see some smaller movies really getting in there now. And to be fair, aside from Barbenheimer, a lot of the movies nominated this year are smaller movies. Like Holdovers, small movie. Anatomy of a Fall, small movie. Past Lives, small movie. Like they're still getting nominated.
We haven't
So,
had a year in a long time where we had four movies that all could be nominated in the acting and technical categories,
mhm,
like Oppenheimer, Barbie, Killers, and Poor Things,
yeah,
which, like almost every category, has three or four of them.
yeah. So it's I think my prediction, and again, this is why I said the date, the date that we're doing this. I think we're gonna see Dune be the big like most nominations, unless something else comes out. I could be wrong,
Well,
but I'm gonna
wi-
say this as someone who loves the musical Wicked. I do not have a lot of faith based on that
I
trailer.
will say, Liz, as far as your Return of the King prediction, it's a possible, but they also may know, considering that Villeneuve's been confirmed to do Messiah, they may say, we're
Yeah,
going to keep our
They're gonna
powder
keep
dry to see
pushing
that's
if
it
the
he wants
back.
to.
worry. There's still a third one to come. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, good point. But I do see that maybe being the one with the most nominations, but a lot of other smaller movies kind of, you know,
yeah.
being nominated as well. But last year we did see a nice little renaissance of smaller films. If anything, COVID kind of brought back the return of these smaller movies. And I'm liking that. And I think a lot of adults are liking that too. It's like finally there's
Good movie's a
something
good
else at the
movie.
Yeah.
multiplex. Yeah.
Yeah, good movie's a good movie.
Oh, it is. But variety also helps.
Yeah.
All right. Todd, do we have any other questions or do we want to move on to the nominees?
Those were the big three I had for this one. So if you guys are ready to move on, and if anything
All
else comes
right.
to mind
The
afterwards, we
sooner I
can
can
circle back.
yell about the best original score snub, the better, because
Let's do
I
some
got
categories. This is
I
fun.
got the words. So, best editing. We have Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, or Poor Things. Mark,
Oppenheimer.
what?
Oppenheimer is the best edited film. It has the most difficult editing. I think it deserves to win here. The only one here that I kind of laugh at is Killers of the Flower Moon. Love the movie. Has no editing. That's Scorsese's problem for his last three movies. Love Silence. Love Irishman. All of them could be 45 minutes shorter. Um, Only
I
thing
agree.
missing. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I agree with you on Irishman. I don't agree on Killers in Silence. I actually thought they flowed and were paced extremely well, but this stuff's subjective.
Only thing I put in, just because it's part four, I think people overlooked it, but John Wick Chapter 4 has some of the best action scenes in a long time. The
and
last
we're
hour is incredible.
and we're back to the Oscars having a genre problem.
Well, they nominate action. They don't always give it to them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
What do you think?
for me, I would either do Anatomy of a Fall or Oppenheimer. I do think the way Anatomy of a Fall is edited is very good.
Hmm.
But I lean a little more towards Oppenheimer. what would I wish was here? There was a small movie that came out last year called Sanctuary. I really liked
Hmm.
how that was edited. It had a fairly frenetic pace to it, which served the story really well. And as much as I love the holdovers, I probably would push the holdovers out from editing. Um, I just there was nothing in that that seemed really remarkable to me. The other one I would love to see in there, again, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, but I know full well that is not going anywhere near the Academy Awards. They're like, we're not touching that.
Even the
But
Spirit Awards were
if
guarded about that one.
yeah, if you have not seen that movie, I would really recommend it. It's definitely it's a movie with an opinion, but it also I think has some great technical work,
Hmm.
and you know, it's there to get a rise out of you. And but the one I'd love to see there, I loved Across the Spider-Verse's editing. And Todd, you were the one who pointed this out. In the third act, where Gwen thinks she's going to see Miles in his room, you said the misdirect with editing reminds me of Silence of the Lambs. And I would not be shocked if they actually said, "Oh yes, we watched live action films to figure out how to edit
The
this."
ringing of the doorbell scene. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yep.
animation also requires editing.
Oh yeah,
And I think it
I hear
should
you.
be there. And I did love Killers, but if I had to maybe swap in Sanctuary and Across the Spider-Verse, I'd probably say like sorry Thelma, you got 3 Oscars, move in for somebody else.
Yeah.
All right, production design. Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, or Poor Things.
You want to start this one?
Yeah. Should win. I think regardless of what you feel about Barbie, I love the production design of it. As someone who did grow up with Barbie dolls, getting that look, that plastic artificial look, so right. I love how it looked in there, and it's really one where I could see another movie where it looks cheaper, whereas here it actually does kind of look luxurious. If I had to pick a runner-up, I would pick Poor Things. I love just again how it looks. Maybe Oppenheimer as well, considering they built the whole set. But I just love the production design of Barbie. Who do I think should be there? I think Priscilla, Sofia Coppola's film, which didn't connect with me much on a story emotional level, but I thought production wise it looked really great. Priscilla was really good. I thought Zone of Interest should have been up there for
Hmm.
production design. I would have, these are all things I would have taken Napoleon out and
Oh,
swapped.
without question. That's
Yeah.
the worst on here.
Or Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, but if you've seen it, in terms of getting the period design just right, it's impeccable. And I know that because I went with my mother, who was 13 in 1970, and is
Hmm.
like, "Oh my gosh, this looked like my house."
Yep. So we'll get into when we talk about picture and screenplay. I'm not a fan of Barbie, and we'll get into that discussion later. But I would nominate it in 2 categories, and it's production design and song. So I think it should be here for production design. Um, I would vote for Oppenheimer, but I'd be okay with Barbie or Poor Things winning. I think all three are great. I also would have nominated Killers. I would have replaced taken out Napoleon and put in Asteroid City, which is not a movie I like,
Mhm.
but art direction, cinematography, and production design, I thought it looked beautiful. Like if you turn
Mhm.
the dialogue off, it would have been a better movie, and just watched it. um, what do I think is going to win here? I think Barbie's winning 3 Oscars this year, and this
Yeah.
is one of the three I think it's winning.
I think I know one of the other three you think it's going to win. I actually disagree with you. I
No,
don't think it's
well,
getting that.
that's going to be a fun category. I know which one we're talking
All
about.
right, Todd, next slide.
Moving on.
Makeup and hairstyling, Golda, Maestro. Oh, I've got words for Maestro later, but we'll get there. Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of Snow. Mark, would you like to start?
Sure. 4 of my 5 nominees are here for my top 5 makeup. I would take out Golda and I would replace it with the monster effects in the Last Voyage of the Demeter. Um,
Oh, good
I
choice.
think all these are actually really good for what they do. I did not like Maestro. I think Maestro should win. Just because I don't like the movie, I'm not going to ignore the fact that it was really good makeup. Oppenheimer has a lot of subtle makeup, which is
Yeah.
very impressive. My mom didn't even recognize it was Robert Downey Jr. for about a half hour, so that's good.
Oh,
Uh, and Poor Things has that outlandish makeup. I actually think Maestro's going to win, but if anything beats it, it's going to be Poor Things. What do you think?
I see. Poor Things is the should win, and I think Poor Things will win.
Okay.
I for me, I love like Willem Dafoe's face looks really good, and just all of the makeup, and I hope I'm framing this right. It looks like it belongs in that movie.
in
It
that
doesn't
universe.
look,
Yeah.
yeah, it looks so in line with the universe itself. And it's also, we'll get into that with costume design. It works as well. In terms of what I think should be there, kind of shocked Barbie wasn't, but again, I would have taken them
Makeup
both.
over hairstyling, even though it says both. It's usually
Yeah.
makeup first. Yeah.
Um, well, again, Priscilla, again, more subtle
Mm,
makeup, but it really worked. I actually thought the makeup in Asteroid City was, again, subtle, worked really well, very period time. And also color purple. I thought the makeup in that
mm.
was really good. And as a lot of people of color pointed out, getting proper makeup and hairstyle for Black people and Black women in particular is very hard to do
With the
because
beating sun throughout the whole movie.
with the beating sun, and
Yeah.
it's also not something that's been
Talked about.
considered it get talked about
Yeah.
and considered
Yeah.
in Hollywood. And I thought just everyone looked really good in that movie. And again, it doesn't always have to be outlandish makeup to be good makeup.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think Poor Things is going to be the should and will. I think Poor Things has it for Willem Dafoe's face. So costume design, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So I guess this is the one I start with.
Yeah.
Costume design, I think this is a knockdown, drag out fight between Poor Things and Barbie.
Okay.
Um, I think again, they're both movies where their costuming fits the universe perfectly well. For me, I would give the edge to Barbie, and again, some of this comes from me having played with Barbies growing up. Getting the Barbie look of those clothes and taking those little tiny outfits and making them look normal on people, where if you've ever heard about what Barbie would look like as a real person, she wouldn't look right. I think there is kind of a talent to looking at that and going, okay, how would this look human? And also not looking too outlandish. And I also love, as the movie goes along, the costumes, especially for Margot Robbie Barbie, get a lot less girly and get a lot less extravagant as she starts to realize, maybe I don't want to be a doll, maybe I want to be a real person. Um, Also, just God, I love Ryan Gosling in that mink. So fun. It's great. I
Do you know
mean,
what that mink might lead to if you heard this interview?
what?
It might lead to Ryan Gosling playing Rambo in a prequel to Rambo.
Heck yeah, bring it
Because
on.
it's
Take it.
Stallone's mink from the 70s.
Yeah, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take it. I also, but Poor Things is also another one where those costumes fit that world perfectly. And it's another thing where as the movie goes along, as Bella matures as a character, or, more accurately, as she gets rid of,
Yeah.
controlling men in her life, her style changes and evolves. So I look at both of those movies and I'm like, there's not just a design thought in here, the story is told in these clothes as well. Who would I take out? I mean, Napoleon. That movie was a waste of my
It's
time.
so bad.
So awful.
So awful.
I would have put in Priscilla, Asteroid City, or Color Purple. I think all three deserving movies. But yeah, I think the other ones like Killers, that's good. Oppenheimer is good, but I think it's one of those like kind of too boring to win.
For me, it's all Poor Things. I'm all in on Poor Things. I think Poor Things should take it. I think it will here. I think Barbie will take art direction, and Poor Things will take costume. Um, I agree with
The
you. I would put in.
rollerblades, though, the rollerblades, that kind of cinches it for me.
Well, it's just I'm not saying Barbie's not impressive, but it's adapting something while Poor Things was more imaginative in my mind. For
Sure.
an award. And I agree with you. What should be there? I would put in both Color Purple and Asteroid City. So
Mhm. Did you see Priscilla?
I didn't. I didn't. I was kind of
It's
sick of the whole Elvis thing
Yeah,
recently, so I just
it's
didn't do it.
it's good. I just, for whatever reason, I did not connect with it the way one of my friends, Ellie, loved it, and I was just like, I don't know, it was missing that like extra thing to really grab me. But it not bad. I'd give it a watch.
Yeah.
All right, Todd, on to the next slide.
Oh, okay. This is fun.
All
These
right.
are fun too.
Oh, best sound: The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part One, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. I think I know what your two picks are, Mark.
All right, so
Tell me if
you've
I'm
got
right.
the most, which is always when Christopher Nolan makes a movie, which is Oppenheimer. I saw it in IMAX. It was the loudest movie since Interstellar and
Mm,
Dunkirk. And it's very important to the story, especially during Trinity. I mean, that moment of Trinity, not having sound is as important as having sound.
Yes.
I would probably vote for Oppenheimer. That being said, I am incredibly impressed by the directorial sound choices of the Zone of Interest,
Hmm.
which, when that movie starts, it just pelts you with this really obnoxious score, and then it turns it off. So you start getting used to slowly the sounds of the movie because that's what the movie is all about. The movie is all about its sound. I think Zone of Interest will win this. Um, I think Oppenheimer's sweeping quite a bit this year. So I think if Oppenheimer wins, it's because it's great and it's sweeping,
Yeah.
while the Zone of Interest is this is the category that the Zone of Interest is all about. I don't think there's anything bad here. I don't really like Maestro. I wasn't a huge fan of the creator, but I'm not going to say they had terrible sound. Um, I would put in John Wick. I would actually put in Super Mario Brothers movie because I just every 5 minutes of that movie was like, hey, I know what game that's from. Hey, I know what game's
Oh,
that's from. So they did
hey,
a really good job with the Easter eggs. Uh, but I mean, the other three nominees, it's good. It's nice to be here. It's Oppenheimer versus Zone of Interest.
it is. I am for me should win is Zone of Interest 100%. The sound work in that movie is some of the most haunting sound work I have ever seen in a film.
Yeah.
It is there's so much haunting stuff in that movie. I still keep remembering when we saw it and they're talking about we can burn 500 units and just realizing like, oh God, they're talking about people and that just sick
Yeah.
feeling in your stomach you get. But I was a international affairs and history student, and despite knowing how mechanized it was, there's still something about seeing that
Seeing it.
cold mechanization on screen,
Yeah.
hearing those sounds. There's almost something, I don't want to say maybe anti-cinematic about it, but the fact that we never see it and we just hear, it's like that's all you need to know what's happening there, especially when it's juxtaposed with this Kinderkitcher Kirch, Sandra Huller showing her baby these flowers, and you're just hearing women being ripped from their children on the other side of the wall.
There's a great
It's auditory nightmare, and it should win for that alone.
there's a great quote that someone who I walked by when I saw it was saying to their friends, which was, "I bet the more you watch this movie, the more things you'll catch, but I am never watching this a second
I
time."
do want to go back and watch it again.
I'm going to because
I'm a big fan of John
I no
Glazer.
I loved it. So yeah, I agree.
But I mean, Oppenheimer would not be bad. What do I wish was there? I think Thanksgiving had some great sound
Hey,
effects.
anytime you want to bring that up, I'm fine with it.
Infinity Pool had some great sound work, and we recently saw the Taste of Things, the
Hmm.
Julia Brewer. There's no score in that movie. It's just natural sound, but
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, but it works. So would have loved to have seen those there. I think if I had to put anything in, I would have just gone to my horror roots and been like, here, give Thanksgiving something. If
Yeah,
only for
definitely.
like the squelching noises.
Love Thanksgiving.
So good. Best VFX: The Creator, Godzilla minus one, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. Who did Napoleon pay to
Oh my
get
God, why is that here?
I,
There's so many better movies.
Oscars? I don't know. There are still some older voters that just see a period piece and they're like, "Ooh, check that off."
It's horrible. I hate that movie.
Oh, it's waste of time. I took my brother to see that, and even he was starting to get. By the time the movie was over, I'm like, Napoleon better hurry up and lose Waterloo.
It reminded me of First Man. It's like Ryan Gosling and Joaquin Phoenix were battling as to who can show disinterest the most while
Oh,
they're playing a part.
um, best VFX. I did not see Godzilla minus one. But
How dare you?
I wish it eventually. Hey, I had tickets to Renaissance that night, so that actually had some good sound work. Just FYI. I don't know if documentaries and concert films aren't eligible, but I want Godzilla to win because it's Godzilla, for
There you
heaven's
go.
um I mean, although I'll say this, creator for a movie made for $80 million had visual effects that looked impeccable. And again, I'd love to see these more lower budget and mid-budget movies get their due. Not everything has to cost 200, $300 million to look great. Um what would should be there? Like instead, I know you and I had some discussion about this off camera, but I still think Across the Spider Verse is justified being there, I would swap that in instead of Napoleon.
So the creator has great effects. If the creator wins, I'll nod, go, okay,
Yeah.
it's deserving. Godzilla should win. Godzilla, the fact that Godzilla's never been nominated for an Oscar, the fact that with the visual effects artist is the director, Hollywood's totally embraced this movie. It is actually one of the better Godzilla movies of the past, what, 70 years. It's great. I'm really, really rooting for Godzilla.
Yeah. And
What? Go ahead.
Oscars do love a good story, and there's such a good story around
Yeah,
Godzilla this one.
definitely. What should be there? Oppenheimer wasn't even. Everyone talks about how you want practical effects, and Oppenheimer wasn't even in their top 10. Is absolutely ridiculous.
Was
I'm
it some
sorry.
kind of an eligibility issue? Because I was shocked by that as well.
Well, even if they're taking the actual footage of Trinity and messing with it, that's still visual effects. I
That's
don't get
fair.
it. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
get it.
so yeah.
And John Wick was in the final discussion but didn't make it. But again, the last hour of that movie is incredible. I would have put those in over Napoleon and Guardians actually, which I don't have a problem with Guardians. It just wouldn't have been my top five.
I mean, it's there were people arguing Indiana Jones 5, which
Yeah,
I liked fine enough, but I'm like, nah, nah.
that actually was my number six, and it was mainly for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The first 15 minutes has great effects, but the rest of these are better. So
Yeah. All right, next slide. I almost did this myself, and I remember, wait, Todd's running the slideshow now.
okay, music.
All right. The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. I'm sorry, I had to say the whole title. I'm Just Ken from Barbie. It Never Went Away from American Symphony. Wazahane. I apologize to the Osage for not saying that correctly. A Song for My People from Killers of the Flower Moon. And What Was I Made For from Barbie? I will let you go first, Mark.
All right, so this category is terrible. These nominations are terrible. The people who
Disagree.
made these nominations are idiots.
Agreed.
There's only one that should be here, and it's going to win. I'm not a fan of the movie, but Billie Eilish's adaptation of the Toy Story 2 song is fantastic. I love it.
No.
It's very, very good, and I like it, and I hope she wins. The rest of these nominees, I'm Just Kin is good. I'm not going to crap on that one. That's fine. It's okay. Diane Warren used to be a great songwriter. Now she gets nominated for every independent film that she does, and none of the songs are memorable. It's absolutely terrible.
Her name is recognizable, and she gets checked off like someone from the
Right.
best part category, but we'll get there.
I love John Batiste. He has a great story with this. It's just an okay song. And the worst of these five, just because people are sitting there going, oh, it's indigenous people. It's important. That has to get nominated. I'd love to know. I think it'd be hilarious if the lyrics of the song were just something jokey and no one knows about it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those nominations. I have to nominate this because it's important. Whatever.
I don't know. That was a surprise for me. I didn't think that would make it. I do love how that song is used in the film, though, and I think especially the bookends of the film where we start off with killers with that our children are going to lose our customs, and the final shot of the film is present day Osage singing this song and seeing after everything. It works in the film very well. I don't know how well it works removed from the film.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it gets it for me. What will win? I think you're right. Billie Eilish is going to win. And it is a great song. It makes me tear up. My mom and I both cried when we heard it in the movie. But I have a soft spot because I'm a musical theater person. I love big box musicals. I love big dumb musicals. And I'm Just Ken. I have been singing that since July.
And that's fair. I think it's between the two. If anything, I hope they don't split their vote. And if they do, I hope it goes to John Batiste, but I don't know.
I love I'm Just Ken. I can't wait to see it performed live. I hope we had better get a battle of the Kens on stage. That's all I ask. But what
I was gonna say, in terms of what should be there, there's actually a great song at the end of Scream 6 called Still Alive. There's a great song at the end of Color Purple called Superpower.
Yep.
And there's a really endearing song in what I think is one of Adam Sandler's best things he's ever done, the animated film Leo. There's a really cute song called When I Was 10, which is about a bunch of 11-year-olds remembering the good old days, which is really sweet and should have been there. Those are my picks.
What I would have loved to have seen there is, I don't know if you saw the Iron Claw, but that song Live
I like the yes.
Would have loved to have seen that there. we saw Origin. I thought the song I Am from the end of that, I'm like, I wouldn't say it's like, oh, this should have been there, but I'm like, this seems like a song that Oscar voters would like. I actually think Neon should have just held Origin over to 2023. It probably would
Yeah,
have had more of a shot.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if you saw the movie Theater Camp.
No,
Again,
I didn't. I listened to the songs though. Yeah.
but I loved Camp Isn't Home.
Yep.
That was one where I wish that it had a shot. And again, this is just the dork in me. That Dear Alien song from Asteroid City, I would have loved if that had gotten a
Hey,
nomination.
it actually went farther than you would expect. It made the last cut.
Heck yeah. But yeah, this is the battle of the Barbie songs. And
Yeah.
now best score. Oh, good thing I'm starting this off.
There you go.
American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So remember how I said Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig are not the biggest snubs for me? The biggest snub this year is Across the Spider-Verse not being nominated for Best Score. It not only should be there, it was my favorite score of last year. It was vibrant, it was fun, it fit the movie. It was a very different score, and I think this category kind of shows that for as much as the Oscar voters have changed in some categories, they're still very traditional when it comes to what they consider a good score. It's something that incorporates a lot of rock music, rap, hip hop, synth. They're just like, nope. And I mean, I love John Williams too. The man's a legend. The man has multiple Academy Awards and deservedly so. There's nothing memorable about the score.
Oh, I don't agree. I think that's not the one I would take out. There's something above him.
Well, no, I agree with you about American Fiction as well. I liked American Fiction. The score is something I'm like, I don't remember.
It's like, what? What did that get nominated for?
Yeah, for me, it's Where is Across the Spider-Verse is my like, what the hell are we doing here? It's the best score from last year, in my opinion. Like the Spider-Gwen at the Guggenheim Museum alone, when she's fighting that Da Vinci Vulture, that alone should have cinched in a nomination. I don't know, it's ridiculous. And again, it goes back to the Oscars have a genre problem still, and this is where we're seeing it in terms of what I want to win. I actually really love the score to Poor Things. I'd love to see that win. It's probably going to Oppenheimer.
I am a fan of Daniel Pemberton. He's the guy who did Spider-Verse. To the fact point that I think he should have won in 2020 for Trial of Chicago 7, which he wasn't nominated for. Yeah. I think he should have won in 2021 for Being the Ricardos, which he wasn't nominated for. So 3 of the past 4 years, he's had either my 1 or my 2. This year was my 2. Ludwig Göransson's score for Oppenheimer to me is the best score of last year. It's as important to the movie as the editing and the sound. I also would have nominated John Williams and Jerskin Findrix. My 5th nominee is actually Bear McCreary for The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Bear McCreary never gets noticed. Yeah. He did great with 10 Cloverfield Lane and Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. He's known as a video game guy, so he doesn't get any nominations. But
I'm going to tell you this: I thought Voyage of the Meter really it fell off in the second half for me. A really good start, but I agree with you. That is a good score. Again, the movie doesn't have to be perfect in order for it to be award worthy. All right.
I am worried that Robbie's going to win over Ludwig just because the unfortunate events that have happened. But
what happened?
He passed away before the movie even came out.
For me, I kind of think. Well, I was going to say I kind of figured they'd vote for him, but we all thought that was going to happen with Chadwick Boseman, and then look what happened.
Yeah. So we'll see.
All right, next slide. We do have to keep it moving. All right. For me, I'm like, this is my page. This animated feature. This really is a category of there's 2 movies battling it out, and I think at this point it's all but decided who's going to win, and the 3 others.
Really?
Oh, I think so.
Okay, who do you think's going to win?
Well, nominees are Boy and the Heron, Hayao Miyazaki, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Pretty much every single major award for the United States. Across the Spider-Verse is won, and deservedly so. I think it's Boy and the Heron and Across the Spider-Verse battling it out. I think the other nominees are nice to be there. By the way, as much
no question.
Yeah. I would take Elemental out and laugh at me all you want. I'd swap in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
It's okay. I'm not gonna lie, I would put it in Leo. Leo's my close number
Yeah,
two this year.
well, again, I go back to like the animation style of that movie is so well suited for that particular movie. And it doesn't, I mean, it is a movie where you look at that and you're like, ooh, the doors that Into the Spider-Verse opened. But it also isn't aping Spider-Verse. It's doing its own little thing with it, and really loved how it looked.
So do you think Spider-Man's gonna win over Boy
I
the
think
Heron?
so. I think so.
Okay.
I mean,
I
it's
hope you're right. I just Boy and
well,
the Heron took the Golden Globe, and that was I don't know.
Golden Globes are not a great predictor anymore,
All
though.
right,
Or
all
it
right.
did, it won the BAFTA, but like all of the industry awards in the United States,
I hope you're right. I mean, I don't think any cartoon came close. Just like the year the first one won, no cartoon came close that year. Um, it's
I
like the two best Spider-Man movies. So
yeah, no, I mean, here's the thing: if Boy and the Heron wins, I see no problem with it. I actually said they're both deserving winners for different reasons.
yeah,
Across the Spider Verse, I mean, and also Across Spider Verse is great story wise in terms of this meta commentary on nerd culture and comic culture in a way. It also works in addition to just expanding the world of Miles because it's like, what other animated movie is giving you multiple scenes with just the superhero protagonist parents having a heart-to-heart conversation?
it
It's
was great.
Yeah, they do. They treat this like it's a real movie. Well,
Yeah.
it is a real movie, sorry, but like
Wow.
there's I feel like Disney, especially Disney and DreamWorks, have been sleepwalking for so many years now because they're just like, whatever, it's just for kids. And you see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse going, no, Guillermo del Toro's right. These are real movies, people. We're going to
Yeah.
make these look great and we're going to give them real stories. But Boy and the Heron, I think, is a little bit is a little deeper on story level. And it's also, it looks beautiful. If either wins, it's fine. I am okay with either. I think Across the Spider-Verse has the edge. And I think you agree with me in terms of Across the Spider-Verse deserves to win.
Oh, without question. Yeah. I
You think
don't even like most of these movies. I enjoyed Elemental, but it was like that's nice.
I
Most
haven't
of the
seen
animated movies
Robot
this year,
Dreams.
it's
I
like
want
what?
to.
Yeah, but it's all Spider-Man. I didn't see any of the animated shorts. Did you?
I We did. We got to go
Okay.
see it. The one I would like to see, and I would say if you can get to a theater to see it, go see them. I think it's a strong slate this year. I loved Our Uniform.
Okay.
It's a short about a woman who grew up in Iran, just talking about you know growing up with the uniform, but the animation technique she uses actual textiles. She paints on them. It's a really neat from an animation standpoint.
Okay.
Although in terms of a story standpoint, 95 Cents is a gut punch, as is Pachyderm.
Hmm.
Pachyderm might even be too dark. However,
Okay.
I think War is Over might win because it's one of those, it's a message of like peace and love, but it's also apolitical enough to not really alienate anybody. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked if it wins. All right, next slide.
Ooh.
Ooh, all right, we're getting into actors. Best Supporting Actor: Sterling K. Brown, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Gosling, and Mark Ruffalo. Mark, who is your should, who is your will?
Incredibly strong group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Missing here is Dominic Sessa in the holdovers, but then you have to take
Yes,
somebody out, and I don't want to. For me, since I saw it, it's Robert Downey Jr., and it pains me because I think De Niro and Ruffalo gave two of their best performances.
agreed.
I know a lot of people love Gosling. I thought it was fun. And I don't want to leave out Brown because it's a small part, but he's always good. But for me, Downey Jr. Did not sleep through this role. He was not taking a paycheck. This was Downey Jr. showing everybody how good of an actor he is, and I
Yeah,
think it's going to also be the defunct Academy Award, Lifetime Achievement Award.
yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. gets awarded. Everybody stands up for Iron Man. Everybody's
Welcome
happy.
back to making real movies.
Yeah, you
That's
were able to get through the darkness and not only become a billionaire with Iron Man, but now you are going to get an Oscar too. Good for you.
that's kind of where I am. I liked Robert Downey Jr. in that role, but if I actually had to look at all of these nominees and I had to, the two that I would really swap in would be either Dominic Sessa, who, again, knowing that that was his first performance
Hmm.
out of the gate, like what a good performance he gives. We finally watched May December. Charles Melton in that movie is amazing. And
The
who would have?
only thing in that movie. Oh, but
Oh, I
yes.
like that movie a lot more. I love Todd Haynes.
Okay.
he's like a classier the movie's like a classier John Waters movie in a weird way, so I loved
I
it.
thought the female acting in that movie was atrocious, but he was good.
No, and he kind of like what he does with his posture and body language to kind of showcase like, oh yeah, this is
He's never
someone
grown up. Yeah,
who's frozen at 13
yeah,
is so well. Like
yeah.
his big quote unquote, his big emotional scene, but the way he like positions his shoulders, that hunch, I'm like, who would have thought the pretty boy from Riverdale had acting talent? My God, it's like Zac Efron and Iron Claw. You're like, dang, this Disney kid's got talent. Good for
Yeah,
him.
right, right.
I would, but here's the thing: if I had to swap any of them in, I would have actually taken out Robert Downey Jr.
Oh wow. So who would
I
you pick
know
here? Gosling? I'm gonna guess.
Gosling. Well, again, because God dang it, I had to make sure I don't swear. Nominate in award comedic performances, and I'm sorry, like I laughed harder at Ryan Gosling and Barbie than I had at anything else last year. He's so funny to me. It's a pitch perfect comedy performance, and the way I judge a lot of supporting performances is who stole the movie.
Hmm.
And I think Ryan Gosling did steal that movie. He's so funny. His whole scene of take your womanly fashions with you. I had tears in my eyes laughing at that. I don't know, again, I'd love to see a comedic performance awarded. If it wasn't him, and if we have to give anybody a welcome back to trying again, it's Robert De Niro. He is bone chilling in Killers of the Flower Moon. It's the best he's been in over a decade.
Understated, which for De
Yeah,
Niro is not something you often say.
yeah. I
There is one more performance that we're not mentioned that I was on my short list, which is the defense attorney, not the defense attorney, the prosecuting attorney in Anatomy of a Fall.
Oh yeah, he's
He
great.
gets some zingers in while he's asking questions, and like each time I'm just like, oh, I wish you could do this in America.
Yeah. No, he's great. I like to yeah, but I mean that was Sandra Huller's show.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, now supporting actress
Mm.
Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks, The Color Purple. Which, by the way, her whole award clip should just be her singing "Hell No."
Hmm.
Just play that whole segment. America Ferrera and Barbie, Jodie Foster and Niad, and Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. Who should win? Divine Joy Randolph. Who will win? Divine Joy Randolph. Not only has she won every precursor award, she's also amazing in that movie. And I love that even her, her big emotional scene isn't like an overwrought melodrama. I'm clearly trying for an Oscar here. It's just a mother grieving. And one of the things I like about her, and I'll also say the same for Sandra Huller and Lily Gladstone, is they are such natural actors. I feel like I am just watching a person and I'm not watching someone doing capital A acting.
Yeah.
Um, she's so good in that movie. Just at the end where she just offers her hand to Dominic Sessa. It's just that tiny moment of just empathy. She's so perfect in it. She's gonna win. I hope she gets more roles after this. Who would I have liked to have seen? Well, I think we will disagree because I would have loved to have seen Julianne Moore in May December.
Oh,
I love Julianne Moore, sorry, but
oh, she was so obviously lying and manipulative the whole time.
yeah, that's the point. That
No,
she's
but it's so obvious. Like I would believe it.
but who I really think should be there in place of Jodie Foster and Niad. I love Jodie Foster, but no. Sandra Huller in Zone of Interest. Again, Miss Kinderkitcher Kirch, the proto trad wife. She's again, I've used this before. She's bone chilling in that movie. She's terrifying. That scene where she just tells that maid, be like, if you mess up, my husband's gonna kill you and scatter your ashes over the land. I'm like, oh good lord. I'm
We are
terrified.
almost 100% on this one. Divine should win. Divine will win. I would take out Ferrera and Foster and put in Sandra Huller in the Zone of Interest, and Taraji P Henson to also be nominated for Color Purple.
Ooh, yeah, that too. You know who I liked? Origin was it's an input. I would put Origin as a B plus for me. I think it's still there's certain things Ava DuVernay did in there which are still a little TV movie-ish, but
Yeah, I
it's
love
the
how she
best
hates that, but she keeps doing it.
it's the best movie she has made. And
Yeah,
it's wonderful. But again, hey, all filmmakers have journeys. But
yeah.
I love Niecy Nash Betts in that movie. The few
Mm.
scenes she has, she's wonderful. I find America Ferrera because, and here's where I would justify it. The fact that she's the straight man role in the movie, but she also just gives completely into the Barbie world. And like, when she goes into the weird Barbie house and she's just so enthusiastic about, like, growing up Skipper. I don't
I don't
know.
think I don't think she or Foster were bad. I just thought there
Yeah,
were a lot better
I
performances.
yeah, well, I guess yeah, I could see that, but I like that kind of works. Actually, if anything, I kind of loved the little girl, Ariana Greenblatt. I
Hmm,
thought she kind of holds her own against a lot of like other
right.
marks, although she's an experienced actress too. But yeah, Sandra Huller, I think definitely should have been there. I would have loved to see Mia Goth in Infinity Pool, but we know how the Academy is with horror.
Next year, Maxine.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
All right, next slide.
Ooh,
All right. Best actor, Bradley Cooper in his quest for an Oscar. And oh, I mean Maestro, I'm sorry. Coleman Domingo in Rustin. I'm glad to see Coleman Domingo get some recognition. Should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Zola a few years ago, but beside the point. Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction. Um, you can go for you go
I, I
first.
I'll say that four of my five nominees are here. The only one I would take out is Coleman Domingo, and I don't have a problem with him being here. I would have just replaced him with Leonardo DiCaprio, which is who it was between. Um, Jeffrey Wright's great in an understated performance.
Yeah.
Again, I hated Maestro, but Bradley Cooper was transformative, and I thought he was great in it. That being said, this is Giamatti versus Murphy, as it
Yep.
should be. And I think about a month ago, it was a little closer than it is now. The movie is called Oppenheimer. The winner will be Oppenheimer. Cillian
Yeah.
Murphy should get it. He will get it. And that's pretty much all I got to say.
So here's the thing. I agree with you that Cillian Murphy will win, and again, perfectly deserving award winner, but God, Giamatti just
Mm.
stole my heart in The Holdovers. And
They're my top two. I'm not going to really argue. They're both, yeah.
it's the two of them, but it's Giamatti by a hair.
Mm.
It's
He smells like fish. How can you not vote for
I don't know.
him?
For me, it's that scene where he tells Dominic Sessa, "You're not your father,"
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's
That and when he's almost begging in the room afterwards. You
yeah.
know, that, yeah. Mm. Great
Yeah,
movie.
no, he got to my heart in that movie, and I'd love to see him win. But hey, Murphy has also been a great actor for years. Murphy carries Oppenheimer completely, so
Yeah.
deserving win. I'm just going with my heart here. Who I would like to see here instead of Bradley Cooper, because we should not be encouraging him.
You know what the problem? Can I just real quick, because we
Yeah, go
both
ahead.
dislike Maestro. I just want to say why I didn't like Maestro, and
Okay.
that's because there is one scene celebrating music in Maestro. It's the best scene in the movie.
Mhm.
It's incredibly directed. It's incredibly acted, and their other 2 hours is all about a bisexual man cheating on his wife. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's what you focus on when you have Leonard Bernstein's movie. That it's just
Yeah.
like you make that a part of it, but how about we make the music the main part? Well,
Well,
what
the
if
problem, yeah,
how
the problem
fascinating?
is, oh, go on.
No,
The
that's it.
problem
I'm done.
is Bradley Cooper, he does like a paint by numbers for an Oscar winning picture. There's no soul behind what he
See, I
does.
can't agree with that because I do like Bradley Cooper as a filmmaker. I just think this was my first time I agree with you that
I
I disliked
hated
it.
A Star Is Born too.
Oh,
So
I loved it. No,
no,
no.
but I would have put in. I think Leonardo DiCaprio was good, but do you know who I think should have been in here? Joaquin
Curious.
Phoenix for
Oh,
Bo
yeah,
is
yeah. Bo's
Afraid.
afraid. Yeah,
Bo is
I should have
Afraid.
known you would have said that.
Oh,
It's okay.
also,
He'll get a nomination this year. That's a big movie if we forgot about
yeah.
for this coming
Also,
year.
a smaller. I love Coleman Domingo, but I didn't watch Rustin. But I'm like, I'm fine. He's here. Coleman Domingo's great. It's about time he starts
He's
to
he's
notice.
always great. Yeah,
But we saw All of Us Strangers, a movie that got completely ignored for the
Andrew
most.
Scott.
Yeah, Andrew Scott's great in that movie. I would
Yeah,
have loved to have seen him, but yeah, I mean, it's Murphy's year and it's deserved.
yeah.
But I'd love if Paul Giamatti pulls out a win, I'm gonna be happy. All right, Best Actress: Annette Bening, Nyad; Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon; Sandra Hüller, Anatomy of a Fall; Carey Mulligan, Maestro; and Emma Stone, Poor Things. You know how I said I'm not mad that Margot Robbie's not here to begin with. I'm just mad that who's there in her place. This is Annette Bening. She's great. I love her, but
Stupid movie. I'm
yeah,
sorry. If anyone is
it's
offended
not.
by
It
this,
is. This
it's
is
not
like
an
old
achievement.
school
I,
Oscar bait. No, thank you.
I'm sorry, the real life person. How is this an achievement? I'm gonna swim without help, except I get help.
Yeah,
What? How is this a movie? I don't know. I didn't get
yeah,
it. I just
yeah.
didn't
But
get it.
so who should win? And again, we've had this discussion off screen about like, is she supporting or is she lead? I think her character is a lead character. But putting that aside, if we're just looking at who is here in the category, Lily Gladstone should win. her final scene with Leonardo DiCaprio alone should get her that win. Her face after, well, just 5 words. What did you give me? Oh, wait, no, is it 6? Ugh, math. Okay. But when she asks, what did you give me? That is a wham line if there ever was one. In her face after he just answers medicine,
Hmm.
she gives an entire monologue without saying a word. And she has this she has this subtlety that you don't see in a lot of performances now. And she's, again, another actress where I don't feel like I'm watching acting. I feel like I'm watching a person. And I'd love to see her win. I think she might pull it out now. The SAG award makes me think like, ooh, it's a little closer. But here's the thing. If Emma Stone's my number 3. My runner-up, I'd love it if
Sandra.
Sandra Fuller got
Yeah.
it. And actually, I was reading an LA Times article where the guy's like, I'm hearing a lot of love for Sandra Fuller, so don't be shocked if she surprises everybody with the win. Who should be here instead of Annette Bening? Margot Robbie again. Like, I don't know. Lead actors in comedy performances just don't seem to get nominated anymore. It's better if you're in supporting. Would have loved Margot Robbie. Greta Lee in Past Lives just should have been there too. I would have also, again, I don't. The movie is uneven to me, but Anjanou Ellis Taylor in Origin, I think, works miracles in that movie. She completely anchors it, even when it gets a little on the nose and made for TV. Like that scene with Nick Offerman is super on the nose, but Anjanou Ellis like saves it from beating you over the head with it. Also, Margaret Qualley in Sanctuary. Really, she has this fun, kind of daffy, crazy quality that works really well. So would have liked to seen her, but it's Emma Stone versus Lily Gladstone. Both deserving wins, I would say. But Lily Gladstone has my heart.
It is this is the only acting category that I think is actually has competition.
Yeah,
They both have a Golden Globe. One is a BAFTA. One has a Screen Actors Guild.
yeah.
They're my top two, but my performance of the year is Emma Stone in Poor Things. I think that's the best performance of all the 20 that are nominated.
See, for
I think the
me, oh, go on.
well, I was just gonna say if she doesn't get it, it's because she's won recently.
Yeah.
And the Academy loves to be diverse. That's going for Lily as well.
Well,
Uh,
and I feel, and here's the thing, I do agree with you. The Academy loves the story, and the Academy loves to pat themselves on the back.
yes, they do.
But Lily Gladstone is on her own merits
Yeah,
amazing.
no, I think if she had been supporting, her versus Divine would have been a very interesting
Woo!
battle. Oh God, I wouldn't want to have to choose there. But who I think should be here? I would take out Annette Bening and put in Fantasia Barrino in The Color Purple. I think she was just passed over because she's from. Well, I guess that doesn't make sense because Jennifer Hudson has an Oscar. But
Here's the thing: she's good, but I put her in the category the same way I would put Rooney Mara in Women Talking. Everyone else in the movie outperformed her.
oh, but at that last performance at the end, I don't know. I think she should be there for the when
Okay,
she's singing
sure.
by herself in the shop.
No, that is
Um,
true. I'll
but I
give you
still would
that.
go with Emma Stone. This one, it's hard to predict. I keep going
Yes.
back and forth. I had a feeling they were going to split the BAFTA and the SAG just to make it harder.
But but again, I would say Huller, Stone, or Gladstone, all 3 incredibly deserving winners. I love Carey
Yeah.
Mulligan, but her press tour for this has been weird. Like, I didn't feel like an actress until I did this movie, and I'm like, way to just throw
Well,
everything.
it's hard to be that like fourth place nominee where it's like you're going to get nominated and you have no chance. It's
Uh,
it's just one of those weird things.
and she should have won for Promising Young Woman, in my opinion.
Agreed. I'm there with you too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next slide, Todd. We have a couple more left.
Ooh, the most competitive category.
Adapted screenplay, American fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest. I'll let you go first. We do have to keep this a little
All right,
quick.
I'll go a little quick. There were 6 movies that had to be nominated in this category, which means one got left out, and that was
Yep.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yep.
There are 3 I would argue have a chance to win here. Oppenheimer could win because of a sweep. However, he's probably going to win 2 Oscars in other places. I think because Greta didn't get nominated for Best Director, I think Greta and Noah are going to win here for Barbie. I don't want them to. I absolutely hate that movie with a passion of 1,000 suns.
Oh, don't be a hater.
I love my good Werner Herzog and his recent speech that watching Barbie was like living in
No, but
pure hell because I
what
actually
he
said
said,
that ahead
Barbie.
of time.
He said Barbie Land seems like pure. I read that quote and I watched it, and he goes, Barbie Land seems like pure hell. But in the movie, in the context of the film, Barbie Land is a hell.
Yeah, I
It's like,
agree 100%.
but it is like the whole point of that movie is you shouldn't want to be in Barbie Land. You should like it's a reverse Wizard of Oz. She grows up in this fantasy world and then realizes, wait a minute, I need to go to the real world. I don't want to be in the fantasy world. Why should I stay here? I want to be a
Barbie is
real.
like someone made a G.I. Joe movie and made it anti-war. Anti-war movies are not bad. I don't need it in my G.I. Joe movie.
I don't know. I disagree with you. I actually think Barbie is yeah, again. I like that she took I like that she took what could have been a cash grab movie and made it about like existentialism and what it means to be human, while also adding like big box musicals from the 50s. And also, just on a side point for Greta Gerwig, I love that all of her film references are older. I'm like, it's about time.
Any
Younger kids, go watch Singing in the Rain. Don't discount a movie just because it was made before 1990.
any movie that you can play a drinking game when they use the word patriarchy is pretentious in my mind. I'm all set.
I
That being
so
said, um,
okay.
then there's American Fiction. I love American Fiction. American Fiction, actually, we haven't talked about it much. It's my number 2 this year for the Best Picture
Ooh,
list.
okay. I liked it.
And it's a movie that screams for a screenwriting award. And it
Yeah.
was an upset at the BAFTAs. It actually did win this at the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time. I honestly probably vote for Oppenheimer because I feel like American Fiction is clever and has the dialogue, but Oppenheimer has the structure. And when
Yep.
you're writing a screenplay, it's actually easier to be clever than it is to have that structure. The structure is actually the hard point. And I feel we'll get to say this when we get to director. I feel like Christopher Nolan is this generation Steven Spielberg. The Academy has passed him over when he's been nominated everywhere else often. I think I would love to see him walk away with 3 like Peter Jackson did. So
Yeah.
I'm going with Oppenheimer. I'm betting on Barbie.
Oh, see, I'm betting on Oppenheimer. I think this is
Okay.
going to see. And again, I what I love about Barbie is how it kind of again deceives you. It gives you this candy colored world of Barbie land, and then you realize you're like, wait a minute, but in Barbie land, you have to be happy all the time. Any deviation is seen as weird and banished to the weird house. Even Alan is kind of seen as an outlier. I feel like a lot of people looked at Barbie Land as something you should want to live in. And I'm like, no, the movie is telling you Barbie Land is hell. And it's Werner Herzog. If anything, Werner Herzog is like, I'm getting the movie and I'm digging this.
I love her.
Oh no, he's probably gonna come out and go like, oh, I love Barbie because it's about it's an existential journey. And one of the reasons, I mean, I know people didn't like the patriarchy stuff, and I kind of feel like that's one of the weaker parts of the movie for me. I think the journey of like going from a two-dimensional person to being a more well-rounded person is the better part of that film. But I do like when she uses patriarchy, she doesn't just do it as like girls good, boys bad. She has the whole thing with Ken to show like, no, this stuff is bad for everybody. No one should have to put themselves in this small box that society tells you to be in. It's all about breaking out of the box.
So would you
But
vote for Barbie?
here's the thing, it shouldn't be in this category. I would like for Barbie to win, but it should be winning Best Original Screenplay. And if I am judging this by adapted screenplay, it goes to Oppenheimer. And I would have taken Barbie out
Okay.
and put The Killers of the Flower Moon in. And that actually is a good jumping point to original screenplay.
Yes.
Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. Overall, pretty good category here.
Yeah.
I would say should win. Holdovers, Anatomy of a Fall, or Past Lives. I like
Yes.
May December too. I just think May December is one of those like it's too icky for voters to win. If I had to really pick, I'd go with Holdovers.
I do too. I agree. I would go with Holdovers. I was
Or
thinking it was good.
Anatomy of a Fall. It's the two of those because there again, there's a lot of good like a good dialogue in Anatomy of a Fall.
Holdovers has a really good chance, but I think the fact that Justine Triet co-wrote Anatomy of a Fall, I think it's going to win so that she can get an award
Yeah.
because she's the director. So, yeah. And in terms
Yeah.
of what didn't get nominated in these two,
Barbie should be there, and if Barbie was nominated, I would vote for it 100%. Also, I would have loved to have seen Beau is Afraid get in here.
I would have liked to see Godzilla in adapted, just because
Okay.
I've never really seen Japan reflect negatively on their choices during the 40s, and that movie
Well,
does so big time.
they have, in like in immediate post-war Japan, like from the 50s through the 70s, there was a lot of in their like novels, in their
Mm,
films and manga, there was a lot of reflection. It was kind of a national shame. And
mm.
then in the 1980s, there started to be this rhetoric of, oh, if we teach kids this history, they'll feel bad about their country, which I'm like, oh,
Right. Let's not do that.
yeah, or we heard this before, but
Let's hide history. Oh, yeah, that sounds familiar.
oops. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Anatomy of a Fall or Holdovers. I would love to see if Past Lives took it, I'd be happy as well. I just
Yeah,
think,
that movie crushed me at the end. So
yeah, but I think it's between those two. You know, Maestro is the one I would sub out for either Barbie
no, it's a
or
terrible screenplay. Yeah, no, that's
yeah.
the problem with it. I think we have
All
two
right.
slides left, right?
Yep, two slides. Let's go. Best international feature: Io Capitano from Italy, Perfect Days from Japan, Society of the Snow from Spain, The Teacher's Lounge from Germany, and The Zone of Interest.
I have seen two of these five, and I loved both equally. Zone of Interest is going to win and is the most
Yeah.
artistic and original, but Society of the Snow actually has a very surprisingly good screenplay
Oh,
that you don't
good.
see.
Cool.
You don't see something coming when you're watching this, even though you know the whole story.
Yeah.
Um, they're both great movies. They're both two of the best movies of the year. But it's going to be Zone of Interest, which this will be the first time United Kingdom wins a Ford Film Award, I would think, because they
Ooh,
weren't
give us a
eligible in the
little bit of a
past.
cheat.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm with you. I think Zone of Interest will win. Zone of Interest should win. Again, that movie's haunting.
yeah.
And not to get too, but let's just say applicable to current times.
Hmm.
But I just want to give a shout out. Todd and I saw Perfect Days.
Mm,
Adored it. Absolutely adored it. I could have watched that movie for 5 hours. Just
yeah.
beautiful little film. All right, cinematography. El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I think should win. I'd love it if Killers of the Flower Moon won. I know, I mean, whether or not you think that movie is too long, that movie is impeccably shot. And if you listen to, I don't know if you're a fan of the WTF with Mark Maron podcast, he had Rodrigo Prieto on recently, and just hearing him talk about shooting this and Barbie, not
Mm,
quite back to back, but kind of the working with each director and like how he visualized each film. It's a really fascinating interview, and I do love hearing behind the scenes people talk about their process. What do I think should be here? I actually would have loved to see Rodrigo get nominated for Barbie, but I do think Killers is the more impressive look. I thought Taste of Things, beautiful cinematography, and this little scene filmed by Kitty Green last year called The Royal Hotel,
mm.
which I really liked. I would have liked to have seen that get a cinematography nomination. And again, Beau is Afraid, Perfect Days could have been there instead of Maestro. But I think it's going to go to Oppenheimer. I think it's going to be an Oppenheimer sweep for this category.
I think Hoyt should have won for Interstellar. I think Hoyt should have been nominated for Nope. I
I
think
think I agree with you there.
I think Hoyt should and will win for Oppenheimer. The difficulty in this movie was that the entire thing was filmed with IMAX cameras,
Mhm.
which is no small point. They say that he even, I think, had it on his shoulder for part of it, which is amazing. If anyone beats him, it'll be Prieto doing the Steven Soderbergh, winning because he did two movies this year that everybody
Mhm.
loved. But I think it's going to be part of the Oppenheimer sweep in this category.
Oh yeah. All right, and our final slide.
The big ones.
Best Director: Justine Triet, Anatomy of a Fall; Martin Scorsese for Kills the Flower Moon; Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer; Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things; Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Who should win? Who will win? Who do you think should be here?
Nolan has been nominated at the Directors Guild for Memento, for The Dark Knight, for Inception, and for Dunkirk. The Oscars only nominated him for the weakest of those, Dunkirk. This is finally his year. Oppenheimer, he's going to win at least two, maybe three Oscars. He is the best, in my opinion, filmmaker of the past 20 years. Whenever he makes a movie, it's usually in my top five, not my top 10. Even weaker ones are better than what most people are out there are making. Nolan has to win this. I really don't see Scorsese getting a second one over
Yeah.
him, and that's really the only competition here in this category, I think. And no matter what happens with Best Picture, I think Nolan's got it.
I'm going to agree with you. I think this is Nolan's year. And I think just for the sheer undertaking, it should go to Nolan. However, I'm going to say this. If Jonathan Glazer In another world where Jonathan Glazer wins. I also Under the Skin was one of my favorite films of the 2010s.
Yeah.
I think Birth is a very difficult but great film. Like Sexy Beast is great. He's a film director. He just comes in every 10 years and once a decade to make a banger movie and then leaves. And oh boy, did he make a great film here. But
Yep.
it's Nolan's year and it's deservedly Nolan's year. It would have been nice if they could expand this category to 6 people and maybe get Greta Gerwig or Alexander Payne in there, but I think everyone who's here should be here. There's no one who is undeserving. And now finally, Best Picture. We have American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So if you had to really ask me what I would want to win, I would say Zone of Interest. Again,
Okay.
just that
Nothing
is a
wrong with
movie
that.
that stuck with me. As much as I love Barbie, Barbie was like my number 3 of the year. I'm like, I think there are better films, and again, I would do Zone of Interest. Like just again, there are a few films that have stuck with me the way that has in terms of like getting under my skin. But in terms of who I think this is overall a good category. The only
Yeah.
movie I'd swap out would be Maestro, and I would put in, don't laugh at me, Across the Spider-Verse.
It was on the short list
It
for
was,
quite
and
a while.
it should have been there.
If there had been 15 nominees, it would have been one of the other 5, I think.
No,
So
it should have been. It should have been in the 10. Anime. They'll nominate like Toy Story 3 and up for best, but I don't know what they can for again.
well, I think that more has to do that it's a superhero movie, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's superhero bias.
well, there is also animation bias as well. I mean, every now and then we see something pop out, but I feel like there's still enough voters who are like, animation,
Yeah.
just put it in there. The animation ghetto, as it were. I mean,
Yeah.
let's not forget, 30 years ago, Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture, and people threw a fit.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like the fact that it's a great movie.
Yeah.
And it's cinematic too. Like what's
Still
wrong
one of
with
the more important ones for that year. That you remember that more than Bugsy. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. Oppenheimer's going to win, though. I think it's a done deal. And again, deservedly so. You know what? This checks so many boxes for the Academy. Is it a great movie? Yes. Is it well directed? Yes. Did it make a lot of money? Yeah. They're like,
Yeah,
why
it's
not?
like that's why it feels like the '90s to me. Yeah.
Well, and also, but here's the thing. I think this could have been an Oscar Beatty movie that just holds him up as this like, this great man. But there's a lot of stuff that Oppenheimer does to subvert that, to go, it wasn't just him. There were
Right.
a lot of people involved, and also showing that he was just a man. He was a flawed person. He wasn't a perfect guy. And the fact that this is nominated over a whitewashing biopic of him, which probably could have been made in like the early 2010s and Weinstein would have pushed and won. The fact that the voters are open to a more complicated picture of a man is, I think,
flawed. It's like Schindler's List. They didn't make Schindler's List an angel in that movie.
Well, that's
He
true. That's
incredibly flawed, and Oppenheimer's incredibly flawed in this movie.
It is. I mean, come on. We were here for the 2000s, the early 2010s, where it was like the more sanctified biopics were in.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Remember the Iron Lady? Come on.
I think 8 of these 10 are movies that I'll eventually own. I mean, I'm very happy with these. I've got some action movies and horror movies that my personal list would go on that would have no chance to get nominated. Of the ones here, my top 3 are Oppenheimer, American Fiction, and Holdovers. I really don't see anything beating Oppenheimer. This will be the first time since Spotlight that my number 1 wins Best Picture.
Yeah, watch something crazy happen and like Past Lives wins.
Well, what's interesting is most people are putting Killers at 2, but a lot of people are saying the only thing that could beat it is The Holdovers. But to me, that's like the people who thought the only thing that could beat Titanic was Good Will Hunting, and it was like, yeah, that's nice. Nothing's beating Titanic.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where we're at. It's Oppenheimer's world, and it was a good year for Oscars. Yeah.
Was any glaring omissions this year? I mean, we already kind of talked about this, so we're being redundant.
When they got to the nomination point, it seemed like it was these 10 in Color Purple, and some people had made December at 12. But I mean, I think the 10 When the Producers Guild and the Academy agree, it's not very often, but they have the same 10.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy that American Fiction kind of got as high as it did. I almost felt like that's a movie that's almost too critical of Hollywood in a way that May December is as well. That
Mm,
I feel that the voters might be turned off by it, but I feel like sometimes, again, Academy voters are like, well, it's about something important. We should nominate it. And it's like,
right.
you know, you nominated the right movie for the wrong reasons. Like I've read some of the ballots, the secret ballots, and people
Mm,
talking about like, well, I feel like I should nominate this. And it's like,
ugh. Never do that. The other thing about American Fiction I love is it sticks the landing. I did not see
yes,
how
I
the ending
agree.
coming. Some people didn't like the ending, which I think that the ending's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it works. It absolutely works. I agree with you. But yeah, it's Oppenheimer's world. It's deserved. I feel a little bad for Emily Blunt because I remember when this movie came out, there was this whole thing of, oh, she's going to win Best
At
Actress, and then
least she got nominated finally. She's one of those always. Oh, she came in sixth. you know?
in my opinion, she should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Devil Wears Prada. Prove me wrong.
Yes, that's a long time ago,
Thank
but
you.
yeah, I agree. And A Quiet Place and Looper, I thought she was amazing in.
I did not like A Quiet Place that much, but okay.
Oh, I thought she was great in it though.
You know who ruins that movie for me? John Krasinski, because he is just trying so hard to be like, I'm not Jim from The Office. I'm a big manly man, and it's like, oh, dude,
I'm a fan of the first one. I didn't like the second, but
the insecurity just radiates off that dude, and I can't handle it. It's similar to like not similar, but it's kind of the same way I feel about Lady Gaga when she acts. It's just she tries so hard to be like, I'm an actress, I'm serious, and it's like, just please let your performance speak for
I am
itself.
very excited about her next role though. I can't wait to see her as Harley Quinn.
We'll see how that works.
Yeah, because it just sounds bat cra crazy enough that it might work in that universe. The two of them, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga.
If she doesn't go overboard campaigning like she did for that House of Gucci movie, maybe I'll be okay with it. But I didn't. Again, I don't
No,
know. But
nobody can quite get to the level of Melissa Leo, and somehow that worked. So
yeah, Melissa Leo's the one time that campaigning thing worked. It's kind of great. It's kind of iconic at this point.
it is iconic. Yeah.
Alrighty, and with that, the awards are on March 10th. I think I said May 10th at first, which no, we're not that far out. And you know what? I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that next year Love Lies Bleeding gets at least some nominations because I can't wait for that movie.
We'll have to see. It's gonna be a weird year, like Todd said. There's not a lot of big things, and even by the time at the end of summer, there's a handful of things I'm excited about.
Yeah, but we shall see. But man, again, it's gonna be so funny if we're wrong and like Past Lives of the Holdovers comes out of nowhere to win.
It's like every category is the second or third most likely wins. Oppenheimer pulls a Lincoln.
It would be great. It would be like last night's elimination on Drag Race, which was someone who'd won 2 challenges just got ousted. It's like, wait, what? How'd this happen? But do you watch Drag Race?
I do not.
Okay, well, you get my point, right? A
Yes.
supposed front runner just being ousted.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I got you.
All right. Well, and with that, I think we are going to say goodnight and see you all at the Oscars next Sunday.
Bye everybody.
All right. Have a good night.
Night.